living with high cost of fuel. To be specific, petrol. How much did you get fuel the last time? Well, some people don't know yet. They haven't experienced it, so they are still in the process of what do you say? She's in the when you just join a company. What do you say? She's in an induction process. She's been away for too long.
She's been inducted into the purchase of fuel at 900 naira.
Oh, you know the price?
I know, it was on the news.
Oh, okay.
Well, and I saw queues this morning.
It's actually more than 900 FYI. And we have also been hinted that the one we are buying at 900 and whatever naira now is not at the same quality level with the one that Dangote has produced.
So because the quality is higher, it's going to be more expensive.
I didn't say that.
No, I'm just extrapolating from what you said. But that is a bit tricky to understand because Dangote is refined here in Lekki.
Yes.
The crude that went into his refinery was sold to him in naira, not in dollars.
But at the same value. Go on.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So where were we? You are aware, and you are not unaware, that the NNPCL said that financial constraints are hampering it from importing petrol. And barely 48 hours later, hundreds of communities joined a line stretching many kilometers for fuel. I don't know how long those queues are in other parts of the country, but in Lagos, quite a length. So last month, the same NNPCL announced a record $1.9 billion in profits for 2023. I said welcome.
You are owing and you are announcing profit.
I said welcome back.
I'm not an accountant.
You will understand it better, right?
Well, fortunately, we have a financial analyst in the house who I'm sure he'll be able to explain all that to us. Maybe there's some principles in accounting and in economics that allow all that.
So who is this accounting? He's not an accountant, he's a financial analyst. Whether he's at there are plenty in that space.
He will analyze it for us then. Mr. Abubakar Umar, good morning.
Good morning.
Sorry, the questions are already on you, but you have to just wait a minute for us to introduce the other guests. We also have with us the Executive Director, Center for Sustainable Mobility and Development, Dr. Kayode Okwaifa.
Good morning. Good morning.
Yes. And joining us from Abuja, Executive Director, Make a Difference Initiative. We'd like you to make a difference. Dr. Lemi Uregbe, thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir.
Oh, no, your question. Go ahead.
Mr. Omar, I'm sure you heard all I don't know how to describe it. Our introduction.
Yeah.
No, he called it hula baloo. I heard him.
So, NNPC is declaring profit, and at the same time, it is saying it is owing, was it 6 billion?
Yeah,
something like that?
Yeah, it doesn't give specific.
So, how do you declare profit when you are owing? I thought that you declared profit after you have paid all your debts and everything, all your expenses, and then what is left over is what is called profit.
Yeah.
Then, I'm not an economist.
Of course.
And I'm not an accountant.
So we can say this intersection of the two. As somebody who is a layman, of course, if you say profit, you are expecting, to have the money with you, but that's not the case. That's rule number one. If a company declares profit, it means, the money they have cash with them and the money they have with their debtors, those people that did not pay you your outstanding. And if you ask who are those people, I will say it's the federal government. And why is that? It will be a case of, I am giving you my product below the cost price, below the selling price. I'm supposed to, sell this product out at 1,200, but then I'm selling it around 600. So it means there is shortfall. And that shortfall, I'm keeping it as, as to the federal government as the debtor. So the reason is that they will declare profit if the federal government, has paid the subsidy amount. But of course, the federal government is illiquid. so it means you are now producing at half the cost. So of course you will have profit.
You are confusing us more. Federal government, NNPCL. What is the difference?
That's another thing. Of course, that's another thing. That's why they said, NNPC is actually, a private company. But then it's a private company owned by government, so it's technically the same thing.
It's a profit-making public company. Don't call it private company. Before some people come back from you. It's a corporation. It's one of those corporations of federal government.
Yeah. There's something we call, substance over the legal. On legal, they are two different things. But when you look at the substance, it's the same thing because the presidency makes the ultimate decision. Since NNPC cannot decide to say, we want to sell that fuel at 1.2. Of course, the government will say, I know you are going to create economic crisis, so sell it at that level. But then,
if there is already economic crisis,
so there will be more if they are not allowed to sell at the price they are going to sell. We are going to come back here to discuss in the next 6 months that 900 or 1,000 is not the actual price, and
it's going to go up again.
And it's going to go up again. So we have a tough situation at our hands. So I think that's the case. So we will say the substance is the same thing. And then, on the legal side, you have NNPC and the company, which is almost under two different things. So the reason is that they will declare profit, but they don't have the cash. That's just it, because they have been selling off. And this is also the reason that exacerbated their own press release, where they said it's because of cash that they are unable to supply, the product to the market.
I'm still confused. You declare profit and don't have the cash. I don't even want to go there. We want to talk about living with high cost of fuel. Well, Dr. Kwefa.
Good morning.
I'm not going to ask you an accountancy question. But if you can venture, you can. However,
I'll try.
The whole conversation around living with high cost of fuel, the challenge, as we established earlier, is that the federal government hasn't really done a good enough job of communicating with the people, giving people the awareness, educating people about the challenges that they have to contend with. They are there. They've been there for years. Tough decisions, according to the president, have to be taken. But you don't just... A woman that is going to, encounter labor pains knew 9 months before that there were going to be labor pains. But we are experiencing these labor pains all of a sudden, without any education.
Good morning. Let me say that this is quite not a pleasant situation. And we have to see the issue as it is. And I also feel, personally, I feel the situation, and I know a lot of people feel even much more the pain better than some of us who have options. Some people have no option. But the truth be told, we are aware from May 29th that fuel subsidy will disappear, either on the 30th of May or some day after.
But Dr. Kwefa, nobody warned us what
that's where I'm going. That's
the effect was going to be.
I'm going to take some responsibility,
okay,
and I'll push some to whoever I think will not fight me. We're also aware from 2011 that one day fuel subsidy will go. So on 2012, January 1 or so, the Jonathan government came up and said fuel subsidy is going to go. Nigeria resisted it, and the government moderated the pump price. So fuel subsidy in this case in Nigeria, I will equate it to pump price. That's the understanding of the general public. Now, along the line, Buhari government attempted it in 2006, I think June or July, when we changed the word from deregulation to liberalization. When it moved from 97 to 145, the calculation then was that it was going to go to like 133. Nobody complained. You know why? Because Nigerians felt it is time for this monster to disappear. I'm raising that just to let us know that we are all aware that one day, this thing will happen. However, the issue is the implication did not come down to many of us, but some of us know. I've been on this seat, on this channel, and many channels, and many, I've been with him too, on channels on the other side. And these are the same topic. And we raised it at that day, that this system, we have to let Nigerians know the truth. The cost of land, the landing cost of fuel is not the price we are paying. And the government, from the books, shows that that system is not sustainable. But who will bear the brunt? Nobody is ready to discuss. All I am concerned is, hey, me, I want to buy correct fuel. What you are concerned, I don't want to buy Gary at high price. But if you go through the president's speech, I'm defending the president here, just because that's a fact. May 29, June 12, July 31st, October 1, January 1st, 2023. In all the speeches, the president made it clear, we are taking tough choices. These choices are not going to come easy. There will be some pain. But let me learn, I am aware and will do everything. Now, when the subsidy was removed, immediately the price changed. Then when the forex was liberalized, the price jumped. Then when the forex went from 800 was 90, then the presidency says no, we cannot afford this fluctuation. Unfortunately, that's what the PIA envisaged, that it will be adjusting with certain forces. I don't want to use market forces. So what I'm trying to say here is this. This is the reality.
Okay. Dr. Uregbe, you have also, I don't know how much you get fuel in Abuja, but I understand that it's quite, something as well. What is your take on all of this? Let's begin from there.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having me again. It is really difficult. In Abuja, the price ranges, I was able to drive into a petrol station this morning, and I bought at 940 naira per liter to be able to get to the studio. There was no queue there, but you will find that there is unbelievable level of queue in all NNPC petrol stations across Abuja. So it's we must trace it. There are government policies that have actually caused this cost of living crisis, including the policy on fuel subsidy removal. And as you know, there is really a phantom removal, because we realize I was one of the first sets of people who kept mentioning clearly that, look, if we go by how much fuel is being sold at the international market compared to what we are buying it in petrol station, it's obvious that government is still subsidizing fuel price. However, where the problem really lies is the fact that government removed this. Under the PIA Act, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited is meant to be a limited liability company, a public company, and is meant to be unshackled. It's meant to do business and make profits. With the president's inaugural speech where he declared subsidy gone, and of course, we must take cognizance of the fact that that subsidy removal was actually done by the budget presented by the Muhammadu Buhari administration. So it really wasn't the one who removed it, but but that subsidy was supposed to run up to end of June. But the moment he announced it on May 29, 2023, all petrol stations immediately adjusted, and Nigerians lost even the 1 month breather they were to have. Now, NNPC Limited, we should be selling at whatever cost it bought based on the PIA, remains shackled. So the president now and the minders now put the burden of paying the subsidy, which they decided to use a new name for called shortfall. So they pay the margin between the cost of landing fuel and getting it to the petrol station. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited pays that, which is still paying for subsidy. But this time, the federal government, which should be responsible for paying this subsidy puts that burden on NNPC Limited to pay. Now that is part of the outstanding debts that NNPC Limited is talking about. And we must be clear about this, that even I heard the earlier conversation, the opening conversation between both of you, and I saw that you are talking about the quality of fuel. That's why it's selling at this price. I can still tell you that it is still at the level of subsidies, not the quality of fuel. Realistically, as sad as it is, we are in for a very excruciating ride. It's going to increase. It's going to go more, except government sits back, looks at the policy, the attendant problem of fuel crisis in Abuja now, a transport, a movement that you should use 500 naira for, you use 1,000 naira for. That is 100% increase in the cost of living. And this definitely, if it affects transportation,
are you sure, Dr.
will affect medicine.
Are you sure, Dr. Uhegbe, that it's just 100%? Because the fuel price, well, I don't know. I don't even know. Anyway, the source of the fulcrum of our conversation is how do people manage? But I mean, it's not out of place to talk about what government interventions can help to achieve. So what are the things that you would suggest? I am aware, I mean, I think I've mentioned it here before on this program, and a number of us are also aware, and I hope Alera is also aware, that there was a monarch in this country, somewhere in the southwest, that put out emissaries and said, people are extorting other people, let them reduce the cost of their products, and that he even abolished all trade unions in the markets because they were the ones who are forming some kind of oligarchy to increase prices. FCCPC is also, crying foul about the fact that people are price gouging. We also know that even in Lagos State, there are some people who go around from market to market and say, how much is this thing? No, reduce it by X percentage. And the people had to comply. Otherwise, they lost their stalls. Do you see any intervention that can come from state governments, knowing that the realities that people have to deal with is right there in their faces? We know, I mean, just Dr. Okwefa has said, as you have also said, the realities are there. So is there any intervention that can come to make life easier for people?
Okay, clearly, the increase in the fuel price now, it's not even 50%. So, but we are having people pay transport by 100% or more, which suggests really that even us as Nigerians, we are our own problems. We are vicariously liable for what happens. Yes, government policies may have made things difficult, but Nigerians themselves, they say in the pedagogue of the oppressed, they say the oppressed in his oppression wants to be an oppressor. So all of us must really have a rethink. We must have a change of heart. There are really very exploitative tendencies, because if you go to the market and the person is telling you this particular product is selling for, let's say, 1,005, and you say, but the cost of buying this product, getting it to the market, is about 800. And the person says, but I'm going to go and buy fuel and I'm going to buy other things too. So we need to have a behavioral change communication strategy amongst the people. And that means government would need to empower, behavior change communication experts, empower civil society. At least when I say empower, create an atmosphere where we really must begin to give out information and narratives where we persuade the people to actually begin to think humanity. Now it's dog eat dog. People are really very, 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 very unconscionable in how they do the things they do. But we must continually talk. Education is the best vaccine. We must go. Monarchs are taking their steps. Governments are taking their steps. But you know what? It is just persuasion, because it's a free market economy. There is a limit to how you determine price for people. So it's advocacy, it's mediation, it's continually going into their faces and telling them what is to be done, what is not to be done. And FCCPC and National Orientation Agency should lead this, because they have offices spread across the country. But above all, the television stations themselves, the media itself must also begin to release a few, little interview adverts, persuading the people not to make life difficult for their fellow human beings. Nigerians are in dire straits. If you can put 100, 200 naira profit on your product, you will survive and the next Nigerian will survive. So our problem is beyond government policy. It also involves you and I, the way we think, the way we do things. Where is the place of humanity? We are a people, we used to be a people with a lot of good conscience, but now it's like everyone is afraid of the next minute. So we just must continually talk to people.
We are our own problems.
I don't agree entirely with that.
You don't agree?
I don't agree entirely with that.
Make your comment before I ask you your question then.
I will cite an example with the recent, I think, conviction that the EFCC did in relation to, spraying the Naira note. When that happens, the atmosphere changes. Even from the people who used to see spraying Naira, they are now being cautious. So those are the kind of things that the government should be doing, to be setting examples. When you convict serious person, everybody will now come back to his senses that yes, the government is serious, they can do that. So I used to believe that if you set the pace at the leadership, the followers will just take line. So
Okay.
this is
Now, I want you to remove your cap now as financial analyst. You are now in Nigeria.
yeah.
Okay? You are aware that 70,000 naira was approved as minimum wage.
Yeah.
With this latest increase in the price of fuel, how do you envisage that a worker who earns 70,000 naira is going to survive, seeing as he will spend about 40 or 50,000 of it on transportation to get to work?
Yeah. That 70,000 naira, it's so unfortunate that it's supposed to be there even before the increase.
Which by the way, some governments haven't even agreed to pay.
Even agreed to pay. That's it. So I think there is a mismatch between the government awareness and the other side. It's a two-stick carrot and stick. So the government is putting out policies that are hardship, but they are not corresponding it with other policies that are beneficial to the masses. You can increase fuel in a single day, but it is difficult for you to implement the minimum wage. So sometimes to show good faith, you can even increase the minimum wage before increasing the petrol price. So, but the citizens will always. It's so difficult now to explain to an ordinary Nigerian that these things are necessary, because when you begin to explain, they will tell you, why is the president buying jet? And you don't have anything to say. These are facts on ground. So it's so difficult to have a conversation. So, but the government is not helping itself in that optics part. It's supposed to do, what we call to assist the public force. Okay, you put minimum wage 70,000. After the fuel is 70, you now move it. Minimum wage, even if it is 200,000 now, I doubt if it will be enough for survival.
Yeah.
But minimum wage is not, a comfortable living wage. It's something they call minimum. So if it is 200, at least we believe other people can get 300 and the rest. So the situation is the government need to, be forthcoming on dishing out policies, and I will say being intentional about that. For instance, we have been discussing CNG since last year, and up to now, I doubt if
Forget that CMG thing. It's not going to happen.
So
Available at what cost?
So you see, so
you are not talking again. You are not.
So you see, and secondly, you even say that they will give, is it 30% or 35% to workers? For since last year, I don't think that is materialized. They paid, is it second or 2 or 3 times, and that's the end. So you realize that whatever they say they will do to help people, it is taking longer time. But then whenever they want to increase price, or do this policy, it comes in less than 24 hours. So it's difficult to explain to somebody that the government is really working for their own benefit. It's difficult to explain to somebody that you will enjoy in the long term, because you are not giving me the short-term, evidence to be sure that in the long term we are also going to
Dr.
enjoy.
Kwefa, you also understand that any increase in the price of fuel will affect the price of everything else, because almost everybody, one way or another, has to use fuel. The farmer has to use fuel to get his goods from the farm to the market.
You will need to farm. Even to farm, they use tractors.
It's like government is always putting the cart before the horse. When subsidy removal was announced May 29th, they were going to do this, they were going to do that, they were going to do this and that and that. But there's no evidence that these things are being done. And they were supposed to have been done before the removal so that it would cushion the effect on the people, which makes people believe that this government does not care about the people. The president is buying a plane, he's buying a yacht, 21 billion is spent on the vice president's house, and people are being told to tighten their belts. The people are they're getting disillusioned, they're getting despondent.
So thank you very much. I understand the direction of the question, and but let me quickly address this issue of the cost of the difference is about 50%. And in 2012, when this situation happened, I've said it many times, I've documented it, I've sent it to those who care. We need to call out the state governors. We did it in Lagos. The first thing the government should do, we're all looking at federal. When these decisions comes, there are different levels of effect. Every state governor should call out his commissioner for transportation and tell them to get out, get on their jeans, roll up their sleeves, and sit down with the transporters. The increase is 50%. It does not translate to 50% per head when you pick a 14 or 3 or 4 people in your vehicle. It translates to 28 to 30% per individual. We've done this in Lagos before.
Does it also calculate the length of time they spend?
No, I'm coming. No, sorry. No, forget it. We're going to address the issue of there shouldn't be scarcity. That's an aberration. So you don't base your calculation on, you correct aberration. Normally, when the pump price change, the queue is supposed to disappear. That's what is expected. This is an unusual situation where the queue persists after an increase in price. So we need to address that issue. And I have interrogated.
I think the scarcity is just lack of supply.
It's lack of supply.
In the
we're coming there. So it's a lack of supply, and it's an intended lack of supply.
Intended?
I will tell you, NNPC made it clear there is liquidity issue. He mentioned it, forex issue. They can't bring in that. We need to read deep into every statement. So there is a shortfall of supply. Mm-hmm. So it's a supply and demand issue. Let's leave that.
Okay, there's demand and there's no supply.
This will disappear in a few days now. Now that they have assured us that there is now adequate supply. Now let me go to that. So what the government should do at every stage, we did it in Lagos in 2012. After that, 97 to, no, was it 65 to 97? And we made all the transporters to get back to not more than 30% increase on fare. We took them to the waterside for discussion in the evening with a 3-course meal, and we brought our figures to show them these are the facts. So what they should do, I said this before, we didn't do it the last time when the government said something was more. Now they should, it's not too late. It has happened just about a week. Get all the commissioners for transportation to call the transporters and people involved in moving goods and persons to sit down. This is regulated regulation. Hey guys, come. How can you go to 100% increase? This thing has gone 50%. You carry 14 people. They are reasonable people. Just like you mentioned about the monarch. That will come down. That's number one. Not that it will come down
totally,
but there will be a substantial reduction. Okay. I can assure you that. Now, number two. When this thing happens, we always assume that it should be foretold. No, it's not going to be foretold. Not every issue, just reacting to you, will be foretold. Policies are those that will take up immediately. On the issue of alternatives, the government said there will be CNG, right? Yeah. There will be alternative energy. On the CNG issue, I have a relationship with them. I'm disclosing it here. And I can tell you, just Tuesday, a transport company in Lagos, on the Lekki axis, got 20 buses from that scheme. Proud to that, Pace Transport, Oyo State Mass Transit Company, got 20 buses. Now the buses have started rolling out. Like I told you the last time, it's not on the shelf. Now people are already doing conversion. I know of a colleague of yours who did a report on NTA to show that she had converted to CNG and she had made CV. No, I'm just trying to address the issue that.
Please kindly advise us. What would it cost us to convert our vehicles?
I can't say of it, but I'm hearing figures.
Approximately.
No, I'm hearing figures like 600 to 1.2 million, depending on the vehicle you are using. Now, it's an option.
That can't be called cheap.
No, everybody don't have to convert. I'm going to convert my vehicle within the next 5-7 days. Now, government have said they will convert. For now, they are converting public transport vehicles free of charge. Because those are the ones that impacted or that will impact much more people, not converting me and you. I mean, public transport vehicles. Now, Ogun State government has converted all the mass transit buses under its fleet to CNG. I know of a state government that has bought electric vehicles. So what we are saying is not going to be fair to say all that government promise has not been done. A lot has been done. But like he said, there are not things that will take off with immediate effect. As far as I'm concerned, what we need to be doing now is government should find a quicker way, something that is quick to quickly address the situation. The problem one, the scarcity should disappear. Yeah. Two, the pricing. The pricing already at 800, like he said from on the other side. The prices, like he said, is not still the landing cost. So government is already making some intervention. With that intervention,
in other words, it's going to go up again.
No. I can't say that. That intervention, is it adequate for the common man? So for the common people, we need to heavily now. It's not an option now. It's a must. State government must go straight into public transport system.
Okay. Yeah.
So that much more people will get out of the mission.
Let's take some comments. Otunse one says, tough choice is prosecution of those involved in high-profile crude theft. Don't ask me that question again. Those involved in the fuel subsidy scam, reform of corrupt petroleum sector that has not added value to the nation. These are tough choices, not subsidy removal. That's from Otunse. Festus Akimboyewa says, though this rapidly increasing price of fuel is another hammer blow for Nigerians, Nigerians must prioritize protecting their own mental and physical health, as the rapidly increasing price of fuel and other basic needs can make physical and mental health worse. Yeah. Well, this one, Dr. Uhegbe, is your question. Cost to market in Nigeria goes beyond fuel prices. The different extortion that people have also increased their charges. From the police on the road to the agberos and so on, they are cost to the market. They are cost to the market people. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, I think we've even spoken already about this earlier in my opening statement. But just before then, I need to react a little to what the other guests have said. There's an attempt to renew our hope by suggesting what state governors and co should do. Now, this is exactly what we say, that we put the cart before the horse. The president ought to have sat on the seat as president and taken even 1 year breather to plan all of these alternatives and make sure they are in place. The president is in government, and the governors and everybody to rule over living, not to rule over the dead, and not to rule over people who are living but in distress. So this ought to all have been done before now. When he removed subsidy, he announced that CNG buses were going to flood the country about, was it 3,000, he said, in under 6 months. We are well over 1 year now, and this is when we are talking about supplies to these states and that. I aligned myself with what Dr. Okpefa said in terms of state governors and co. They too must take responsibility. They are making a lot more money now from federal allocation. So we must hold them accountable. And that's why, and that trickles down to the third tier of government, the local government. If governors themselves will allow proper elections that will reflect the wishes of the people at the local government. So yes, beyond transportation, the cost of pro commodities through transportation. There are a lot more concerns and all. But the point being made here is that genuinely, many traders too are exploiting the situation. They're exploiting the situation to get their prices at to put their prices at cutthroat level. So we must admit to these facts, and we all in our small corners must continue to talk about this. The FCCPC's work is well cut out, but remember, we're also in a democracy. There's a limit to how you can also compel people. But Dr. Okpefa gave an example of how this is done in Lagos. And this is the kind of responsibility governors, monarchs, everybody must be involved in. Let's come to a round table and have the uncomfortable conversation. If there is a fuel increase of marginally 50% or a little less, you should never, for all intent and purposes, begin to charge 100% increase. And to that extent, it is more of advocacy, it's more public enlightenment. Nothing else will work because you did not procure these products. I don't know how you are going
which is
to
one
go
of the
and
things,
insist that it is so.
Dr. Hegbe, that doesn't really happen. That public awareness. I know you want to take a minute, but let me just.
Yes.
This is a response to you, Mr. Umar. Says. Thanks to Channels TV for your people-oriented programs. On the issue of NNPC declaring profit without monetary backing, we are confused as laymen.
I think
Wait. He's coming somewhere.
Okay.
This is Chris. He says, if the money is not there, where do the ones shared by the 3 tiers of government at their monthly meetings come from? It keeps increasing any moment the petrol price increases. I'm asking as a layman.
Yeah, I think maybe my initial explanation sound a bit more technical, but I think the simple answer will be the profit is consumed by the subsidy. I think that will be the simple. There is profit and then subsidy payment consume it. And you will ask me, the government has been denying there is no subsidy, but that's their own denial. They changed the name to under recovery, or is it shortfall?
Shortfall.
So that
Yeah.
I think that's a simple explanation. The profit is consumed by the subsidy payment. So and then for his caution that where is the the money? In fact, the money is basically coming not only from NNPC numbers. There are numbers coming from CIT, from VAT. If you check, especially when they do that devaluation. High amount of money comes from exchange difference. So when you look at the fact numbers month by month, you realize that NNPC numbers is not, I think, the major contributing factor to that number. So that's one. And secondly, what Doctor said, I want to say that about marketers, if you increase price and you expect them not to increase 100%, the biggest, elephant in the room is the Naira devaluation. 10 Naira, 5 Naira, 20 Naira, even 50 is technically almost gone in the economy. So you are saying if a transport is 100 Naira to place, you are expecting them to increase 30 Naira. How practical is that?
How will they pay the 30
Naira? That's the problem. That's why it's easier for them. If it is 100, they just push it to 150. If they have some empathy, then they make it 150. Otherwise, they make it 200. So that's one of them.
There is a comment here from Tunji Kolawole, and he says vehicle owners should be advised to learn of engine capacity as it relates to fuel consumption. Such knowledge is the reason why fuel guzzler SUVs are rarely seen on the streets of London and other European cities. The higher the engine capacity, the higher the fuel consumption. New vehicle buyers should go for lower capacity engines in the range of 1.2 to 2 liters, and existing owners may consider downsizing to smaller cars.
Absolutely is correct.
Yeah,
it's correct. I'm not talking of downsizing. I'm talking of the engine capacity.
So here is someone who is having a problem getting around. You're asking him to go and buy another car.
No, I'm not responding to that. I'm responding absolutely to the issue of your engine capacity.
Getting smaller cars with smaller engines.
When you want to buy a Prado, I'm going for the high end now. there are 4 V4, V6, V8.
V8.
If you buy V4, nobody knows it is not V8, except that they rent it at the back. You spend less on consumption. Then there are some vehicle brands that are low fuel consumpting vehicles. Sorry, I'm going to say this and I'll quote it. I was once in government and we are told that we'll get a brand of Camry as official car. And the reserve car will come 2 years after, and that will be a Corolla. Yeah. But they told us the engine capacity of the Camry, no more than 2.0. So, and that was when I got to understand that the 3.0 Camry or 2.8. So everybody got 2.0 because
one, as they say, one blue.
There's 1.8.
It's 4 liters of petrol.
What this person has said, these are some of the how people can manage this situation.
But
for example,
you are definitely not talking to a tomato seller. Emmanuel says tomatoes that went up to 60,000 naira dropped to normal when citizens found a substitute in watermelon.
That's not true. That's not true. You see,
this is coming from Emmanuel.
It came down because of it's a seasonal issue. That's number one. Yeah. And people don't understand it, and we need to start educating people. I used to see my wife stock the fridge with boxes of tomato when I was in the US, and I just think this might just wasting my money until the Nigeria situation started some years ago, and she reminded me that even in America, all over the world, there are some products that are seasonal. But guess what? She doesn't buy tomatoes any longer. Just from 3 tomato planted, she gets enough to cook. Now, what made that price to come down has to do with farming and seasonal issues. And these are other things that we also need. And it happens to all products.
You see, it goes back to the thing that we had said.
But the question is
educating Nigerians about these things. If you don't give Nigerians information, we will fill in the gaps.
What is the First Lady's initiative?
That backyard farming.
Backyard, yes.
I don't buy a wedu any longer. What do you call it in English? I don't know.
Crane.
Whatever that means. Anyway, this is Sonny Ehigiato who says, so, good morning. So good to have you again, Madam Alero.
Thank you.
Why is it that when the issue of subsidy is being discussed, we don't talk about why the Nigerian refinery is not working? If 2011 we knew that one day this subsidy will be removed, why won't the refinery get working? This is why we are angry. But listen to, please don't. We are talking about how we can live with this. Don't analyze NNPC, please. It's making people.
Just one moment before you go to the next. What's the name of this person?
Ehigiato.
Ehigiato. Remember that the NNPC MD told us that Port Harcourt refinery would start working soon.
August.
Well, okay, he said August 1st, and then he's pushed it to September. We are in September now, so we are hoping that before the end of this month, the Port Harcourt refinery will start working, and we will see the effect on our lives.
Okay. I say amen, but for my mental health, I'll put it at December. Tunde Arogumati says, the core issue that's not being addressed is a corruption-ridden petroleum industry that has been repurposed from a national asset into a channel for self-serving enrichment of a privileged few. So to the detriment of the distorted economy and well-being of every single citizen. Professor Enakena says, federal government must completely deregulate the petroleum sector and must stop shortfall payments. Prof, you have aligned. That replaced subsidy payments. Texas has 32 operating oil refineries with annual budget of $321.3 billion, meaning the federal government must diversify the economy from overdependence on crude, stabilize power to bring down the prices of goods and services.
Yeah.
Now, okay, you want to say?
Yeah, I want to say something about this refinery. I think, you see, a lot of times there is that misconception that is more popular than the reality. And it oftentimes dashes the hope of Nigerians. For instance, now, people expect if Dangote refinery is on stream, price will go low. You see, this is a misconception. People expect even if the 4 refineries in the country is working, price will go low. You see, that's also a misconception. So these are the things that people believe. If our 4 refineries are working, the price, there is no relationship between having a lot of refineries and low prices to so the problem is our purchasing power.
It goes back to lack of education. You educate Nigerians, people will know what to expect.
But Mr. Awa, I have to play devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
If Dangote fuel is in the market, cost of freight is removed, cost of duties and all that, all those costs are removed. Why shouldn't that affect the cost I'm paying at the pump?
Because the costs are not materially significant. That's just the answer.
They are not materially, even if it is 1 kobo. I want to feel it when I go to the pump.
Yeah, of course, if it is maybe 1 kobo, but if you are buying fuel 900 and they say it turns to 840 or 830, I don't think people will be happy or they will appreciate that amount of decrease. I think that's just the argument. The amount is not materially significant as compared to, when they are importing.
Because the product
it's just logistic, demurrage fees,
the product is a global product, priced in dollars.
So the big elephant in the room is the exchange rate.
I'm yet to understand the basis of that.
If our economists can work on the naira to dollar value, if it comes down today, let's just assume it comes down to.
But that's another mistake. I don't think it's not working. It's export. You earn it.
No. Sorry. Let me change my word. Assuming our economy works and
we earn more dollars,
and our foreign reserves improves, and then we can use the foreign reserve to defend the value of the naira.
That's all.
Like it did about January, February. It comes down to like 1,200. You will see these is it 840 or whatever now?
Yeah,
it will come down to like 600. That's the way it works. Unfortunately, our foreign reserve is low. Our export capacity is low, which is supposed to increase with the devaluation. That is not happening because we are too import dependent.
Okay. Dr. Ohegbe.
We only have just over a minute, so we need to close. We need to close this program now.
Yeah.
So we need to take your closing statements. So, Mr. Kwefa, let me start with you. We're talking about how to live with this high cost of fuel. What would be your advice to Nigerians? And that question is going to go around.
So Nigerians, I believe they have been pushed that much. And my advice would be to government first. Government should look at ways that programs and policies are in place, and those that are in place are made to work. We need to, government in the area of the current pricing, the issue of alternative energy, the CNG program, the electricity program, the solar program must be ramped up, and there should be more investment on that program. The FCCPC and the NNPCL, who are the regulators for pricing in this case, should be strengthened so that they can help fight all these gouging and the rest. And to the people, you have to make the appropriate choices. Try to reduce your dependence on petrol.
Dr. Levy.
Well, it's difficult, but let's just say that our concern is to advise government to be more sensitive to the needs of the people, for government to actually drop a lot of Eurocentric anti-people policies and bring into play measures that can actually renew the hope of the people. Because right now there is despondency in the land. For the people, we still say let's believe in our country, Nigeria. As difficult as it is, we cannot lose hope totally. So there is a need, however, to, while saying tighten your seatbelt, the government itself must also begin to be more prudent in how they spend money. Unnecessary spending, you preach to the people to be patient, and you spend so much and you show opulence in the face of poverty ravaging the people.
Yes.
The people too, employers especially, must now begin to think of how to reduce the number of days workers come to work, and some days they should work remotely, because it is impossible on 70,000 naira, which governors are not willing to pay. Even at the federal government level, they are not even paying it yet. It is impossible to pay transport and still have 20,000 naira in your pocket.
Okay.
So let's be our brother's keeper.
Thank you, Doctor. Mr. Omar.
Yeah, so one thing, it's difficult to outshine a declining economy. And also...
Can you be nice?
No, it's actually true. Even if you increase my salary now, I still fall again to the, very difficult living standard. So that's what I mean.
Mr. Omar, if your salary were increased to 5 million naira a month, you can't say that's not going to affect you.
But who will increase it to 5 million naira a month? so that's it. And then you say we advise Nigeria. I will say it's difficult to advise a hungry and angry man in the street. So I will rather advise the government. Let them try to do something that will earn the trust. I think
that advice is also what I know you want us to close now. Akin says on X, Dr. Kwefa, perhaps we haven't engaged with transport workers to understand costing. When fuel prices go up, not only fuel is affected. The union excos increase their levy, the mechanics, the organizer also increase their maintenance charge, and these are the issues. However, there is this advice that, as you have talked about government, Dr. Damola from OTA says, to alleviate the suffering of people, government, state and federal must subsidize cost of food and transportation by whatever means, not ineffective palliatives. Thank you, Dr. Damola.
Yeah. Thank you very much, our panel this morning, starting with Mr. Abubakar Umar, a financial analyst, Dr. Kayode Okpaifa, Executive Director, Center for Sustainable Mobility and Development, and Dr. Lemi Ugegbe, Executive Director, Make a Difference Initiative, who joined us from our studio in Abuja. Thank you very much for coming to share your insights with us this morning.